Okay, so we have our shape. Let's go back here. We have our created a shape, so now let's draw a square with that shape. So, where am I here? Let's just place this in a different spot so that we're working, so that we have some room to draw the shape pretty much in the center. So let's move the starting point of our X and Y. So that should move it up. Okay, so let's just use that and draw, again, saying square, could be a little rectangle, whatnot. So let's start that off. So the first thing we want to do is create a for loop of var I equals 0, I less than 10, just choosing 10 as a starting point. And then we want to wrap that around our draw shape function, which in this case is squiggly. So let's just take a look at that, right? So now we've got 10 of them drawn in the same spot. Okay. So here, let's create another property that is the change, right, that we want to have happen in X, right? So we may call this dx for change in X, right? And let's say 25, right? So this is the change in X. So we do that, and then we would want to add it. O1.x plus equals O1.dx, which is the change in X. So let's just take a look at that, and we get our line, right? So maybe let's make this, let's make the size a little smaller so that we see separation. Perfect. How many do we have? 10. There we go. So we see the 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So maybe we want this to be a little bigger. Let's do 50. Let's see what, right? Okay, and then we can then increase the size a little bit. Okay. Okay, so we have our line, right? So maybe we would want to, stop this a little bit sooner. Right, there we go. So let's do 7, 7, 7, 7 just for the moment, right? So we could create another for loop. So we could just copy that for the moment, right? And then here we want to draw down. So we want dx to be 0 and yx, which we don't have yet, to be 50. So let's think about this a little bit, right? So let's create our dy, right? Let's set it to 0, right? So this is the change in y. And let's do this. O1.y plus equals O1.dy, right? And just to point out that this is the same as O1.x equals O1.x plus O1.dx, right? So this incremental operator, the accumulator assignment operator, right, adds this value to that value, right? So it's the same as this. Okay, so let's just do that for a second. And here we see we get the same thing because we're not adding anything to our to our y coordinate, right? So here in this for loop, let's do the same. O1.y plus equals O1.dy. Right, so here we're starting to get a pattern where we don't necessarily want to write this out all the time. So why don't we create a function that is update data, right? It will take our object, and then we can say o.x plus equals o.dx, right? And remember here it's o, not o1, because we're inside this function. So o.y plus equals o.dy, right? And then we can get rid of this and just use our function update data and pass it o1. And here we could do the same, update data, pass it o1, right? Because we're going to be doing the same thing, right? So let's just see, right? Okay, so now we continue on because we haven't changed anything, right? So here we started with dx being 50 and dy being 0, right? So this one's fine, but in this case we would need to set o.dx equal to 0, o.dy equal to 50. O is not defined. Where did I use O where I shouldn't have? Here, right? Right? So now we have a line there, line there. So here we're drawing our line to the right. Here we're updating our parameters, our x and our y, to draw down. So then again we can do that. Copy. So we need to update this. So now we want to go to the left. So we say negative 50 and 0, right? And then let's do it one more time just to get the basic structure here. Where do we go? So now we want O to be 0 and dy to be negative 50. So let's just take a look at that, right? So here we're getting there, but something isn't, right? We're drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, when we should be drawing 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So why are we drawing 8? Do I have a... So, okay, so let's look at what's going on here. So we draw our 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So then we have these, right? We seem to have 2 more. But if you think about what we're doing here, we're not updating until we've already drawn, right? Drawn our first shape. So if we put that up there, right, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So we need to put these above. Right, and there we have our square, right? Okay, so that's taking somewhat of a in-between brute force, right? We are using for loops, but we are still going draw one line, draw the next, draw the next, draw the next. So let's see if we can update that a little bit. Okay, and to do that, let's use conditionals, our if statements, right? So we were able to get this, right? We've drawn a square, right? So we've succeeded in drawing a square using somewhat of a brute force. So let's see if we can make it a bit more elegant, right? So let's see how this works. So let's start again. So I'm going to get rid of all that, and we'll leave that there. And let's create a for loop var I equals 0, I less than. And here we want to draw all of them at once, right? So I'm going to say 100. That's probably way too many, but let's just do that, right? Then we want to do our shape. So squiggly, pass it 01. and then update data O1. So here, if we do that, right, we have 100 going to the right. Okay. You know what? We don't need 100. Let's just make that smaller. It's probably in the 35 range that we're going to need, and we'll fit. Oops, not 350. We'll get to that, right? So here we want to use conditionals so that when we hit a point, we start to draw down. When we hit another point, we start to draw left. When we hit another point, we start to draw up. Okay. So let's do that with conditionals, but let's put those conditionals in our update data function. So I'm just going to move this up because we're going to be working with it. Then I can plunk it back down. Okay. So let's do a conditional if O.x is greater than some point. So where did we start W3? So let's do 2/3 of the screen, right? To do that, we go 2 times W divided by 3, right? This is 1/3 of the screen, right? 2/3 would be about there-ish, right? So we'll see how that works. Then we want to do something, right? So we want to set O.dx equal to 0 because we want to stop moving right and we just want to move down. So O.dx needs to go to 0 and O.dy needs to become positive. Right, OD, or become a positive number. So what were we using? 50. So let's call that 50. And let's just see what happens, right? Okay, right, that's not bad. We're getting somewhere. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do another if statement, right? So we say if, right, what's the next one? If O.y, so our y coordinate is greater than something, right? So what did we start off here? Y is h3, so let's do the same. So if O.y is greater than 2 times h divided by 3, because we're doing the third of a screen, do something, right? So here we want to go to the left. So our dx, our change in x, needs to be negative, and our change in y needs to be 0. So let's go how O.dy equals 0, O.dx equals negative 50. Right? So let's save that. Let's see if that works, right? Perfect, right? Okay, so now just one more. If O.dy is less than O.y is less than, sorry, I'm saying that's actually the x coordinate, right? Y coordinate, x coordinate. So O.x is less than, let's do our 2/3. So W divided by 3, let's do something. And again, we want to go up, so our y becomes negative and our O becomes 0, right? Our dx, our change in x becomes 0, and our change in y becomes negative. So O.dx equals 0, O.dy equals negative 50. Right? Okay. And then we could, right, just to keep this simple, let's just do 25. Is that enough? Oh, that seems to be exactly enough. So let's do 24. Is that actually right? Let's do 23. I just want to see. Okay. So it seems to be 24. Right, is the right amount to get our square. Right, so it's actually a rectangle. So let's see if we can quickly just update that. Because what we're doing here is we start dx at 1/3 of the screen, and then we go to 2/3 of the screen. We start y at 1/3 of the height, right? So I mean third of the width, third of the height, and then, you know, we go down another third of the height, right? So let's just make this, because essentially we're adding a third of the width, we can just add a third of the width here, right? That would give us a square, and then we need a few more. Let's try, what do we think we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's add 5, 29, right? Perfect, right? So there we've made a square instead of a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to end that for there, and next we'll get into looking at animating this.